Here we are on Newton Beach. As you probably know, the Bristol Channel has one of the largest tidal ranges in the world, anything up to 10 metres from high water to low water. So there's a lot of shore exposed at low tide. The drift line, the line of debris left by the tide, can tell you a lot about what's going on the seashore. These are things I collected on a 50-yard stretch of the strand line, the drift line. Firstly, we get the mermaid's purse. This is the egg case of certain kinds of fish. They lay an egg inside this case, which is then attached to seaweed, and after the young fish has hatched, the empty case gets washed up on the shore, and we call them mermaid's purses. This one is a skate. The next one, the yellow one, is a dogfish, and then we move on to what might look like seaweed but is actually a colonial animal, almost like a coral. This one they call dead man's fingers. The next one is another colonial animal, sea mat, and then you've got some shells. You've got two dog whelks there, different colours, and you've got a top shell, the stripy one, and next to that is a netted dog whelk. A couple of other things that are often found on the drift line. This is the bone of a cuttlefish, which is a relative of squid and octopus, and this bone is in the centre of the body, keeps the animal rigid basically, and next to it are the remains of some whelk eggs. The empty cases often get washed up on the shore. Quite often you'll find what appears to be a dead crab on the beach, but if you look more carefully you'll see that it's actually the cast-off shell of a crab. As crabs grow, they get too big for their outer shell and they shed the old shell and grow a new one, so what you're seeing is simply the cast-off skin. Seaweeds on the shore are zoned. On the upper shore, which is only covered by the tide for a short time each day, you get channel rack, so called because of the channelled fronds. Further down on the shore you get the familiar bladder rack with the air bladders, and also so-called egg rack or knotted rack, which is greenish and has single large bladders on it. Further down the shore again you get serrated rack or saw rack. This area is covered by the tide for most of the time. There are two edible seaweeds, sea lettuce, the green one, and the purplish one is lava, which of course is made into lava bread. This is another edible seaweed. It's carrageen or Irish moss. In some places it's actually gathered commercially and it's used in various food products, including ice cream. One of the best ways of studying the seashore is just to come down with a tray, preferably a white tray, and an ordinary kitchen sieve. You put a bit of water in the bottom of the tray and use the sieve to catch whatever you can find by lifting up stones and running the sieve through the seaweeds. Just as long as you remember to put everything back in a rock pool when you've finished, because obviously they'll die. This is a long-clawed porcelain crab, a very small crab, only found at low tide. And over here, somewhere, yes, this is a broad-clawed porcelain crab, also found at low tide. And we've got a couple of other crabs in here. We've got a common shore crab there. And next to it, a pink shell crab or an edible crab. And this one looks similar to the shore crab, but is actually a velvet fiddler crab. You can see its rear legs are oar-shaped because it's a swimming crab. And over here we've got a common starfish, and this is a hermit crab which lives in an empty shell. You can just see the claws coming out. So it's surprising what you can find at low tide at Newton. These are chitons, coat-of-mail shells, primitive mollusk, only found under stones on the lower part of the shore. When you turn a stone over like this, you should always put it back so the things underneath don't get dried out. A feature of the Bristol Channel are these extensive reefs of Sabellaria or sand mason worm. It's an important habitat for all sorts of other plants and animals, and for that reason parts of the Bristol Channel are protected because of these reefs. When the tide covers the sand mason worms, an individual worm comes out of each tube and collects food from the sea through its tentacles.